Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So we go to this story now. uMngeni-uThukela Water has been granted temporary relief restrictions that will remain in effect until the end of January 2025. This decision aims to support the increased demand for water in eThekwini and Msunduzi municipalities during the festive season and to provide necessary resources to meet the high consumption rates that rates are driven by an influx of tourists. For more on this, we are now joined by the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Pemmy Majodina. Minister, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Working hard even on Christmas Day, Minister, like some of us. Just speaking now about the meeting that happened between yourself as well as the officials in eThekwini. Tell us more about that.
Thank you very much, Sampear, and to your viewers of Newzroom. Indeed, one had to work because we took oath. Yesterday, I had to convene an urgent and special meeting with the department, uMngeni Water, and eThekwini mayor. The reason was that eThekwini is having a high demand of water. Remember, KZN is a tourist province, and it attracts tourists, especially when it comes to eThekwini. Now, they have abstracted a lot of water. They are consuming more than 173 liters per day. According to the norm, we're supposed to give them 173 liters per day per person. But now, at eThekwini, they are consuming 279. So we had to restrict water as we did in Gauteng to put them on level 1. Because if we did not do that, by now they were going to run out of water. But now the demand is too high. The tourists are flocking to KZN in eThekwini. So yesterday we had to intervene because the high-lying areas are not able to get water. Their reservoirs are going dry, but the contributing factors there are 3. 1 is illegal connections. 2 is non-revenue water. 3 is vandalism in their water infrastructure. So yesterday I had to make a decision to lift the restrictions for a month to allow them to abstract more and more so that they don't get disorganized and those who are visiting KZN to feel that it is not a worthy place to visit. So we had to take a very painful decision to lift the restriction to allow them to have more water.
Yeah, so this particular call, was it at the behest of the minister, or was it something that was initiated by the tourism industry to say that, listen, we are struggling, we have an influx of tourists coming into the province, however, though, especially in eThekwini, we are struggling to get access to water. Was it the minister's own initiative, or was it an initiative that came from the industry?
It was the municipality, but also I was getting a lot of calls from the industry, from tourists themselves, to say we don't have water in this hotel. Water, we have to wake up at 6 o'clock. By 8 o'clock, there is no water. Can you please intervene? So I had to look at all those calls, the messages, and to be flexible and say, let's be accommodative. And I called uMngeni. We do have enough water. The reason why it was quick for me to take that decision is because of the recent rainfall in KZN. Our capacity is standing at 90%, and therefore our reservoirs and our water plants are full. It's not a problem, but the fact is they are over-consuming. So we had to suspend that to be able to accommodate the industry as well as the normal and ordinary people that are visiting KZN.
Okay, so this is in place for a month. Then what happens after that?
We are going to meet with municipality next week because we have given municipalities 7 steps to follow to ensure that they control and manage their water accordingly. So next week, they're going to give us a plan. So that plan will be able to assist us and them to ensure that whatever capacity of water that we're giving, because we have abstracted more than what the license requires us, they must put that in place. Once they put that in place, we'll have to go back to a level 1 restriction to ensure that they adhere to the 7-point plan that they are are supposed to do in terms of their water management, in terms of fixing their leaks, in terms of disconnecting the illegal connections, and ensure that those who are supposed to pay for water, they pay for water. But now we cannot act irresponsible when there's this high demand. So we had to be flexible.
Yeah, and I guess the demand will remain there, perhaps not as high as what we're currently seeing during the festive season. But then there's also the concern that has been raised that when it comes to the infrastructure, that some of the infrastructure gets damaged deliberately by the so-called water mafia who want to benefit from the water tanker contracts or even the contracts to rebuild the infrastructure. Has Minister found any evidence to that effect?
True. Very, very true. There's evidence of that. 2 days ago, one of the officials was shot dead, or is still in hospital. Yesterday, it was said he passed on. It was said he's not passed on, but it's very critical. He was shot as he was attending to the vandalism. They do, those who are running private water tankers, they vandalize our infrastructure deliberately because they want to be contracted by municipality and want to urge the community and appeal that those people must be brought to book. Every 3 months in KZN, we lose officials, especially those that are dealing with water and sanitation. And it is just uncalled for that when people are trying to assist to manage water, then there are those who think that if they vandalize, then they stand better chance of getting more money. It is just inhuman, and it is happening a lot in KZN. And we are saying their days are numbered. We're working with South African Police Services to ensure that we put an end to this vandalism of our infrastructure, especially by the water tanker mafias.
Yeah, I was about to ask that question also about what is crime intelligence doing? Aren't they giving Minister all of the information that is required to stem out who's behind these water mafia so that we can deal with this problem? Because once again, here we're speaking about a basic necessity and some people bearing the brunt of these illegal connections on one end, but on the other end as well, the damage, deliberate damage to infrastructure.
We have the report from the intelligence, and we're working very close with the intelligence. And the fact is, those people, they have a network, and their network also link up to certain officials in municipality. And we are saying we are going to leave no stone unturned in ensuring that all those are brought to book, because they make no ordinary people to suffer because of their selfish interest of wanting to get money by hook or crook. And that is just uncalled for. Water is a basic need. And we are trying all our best to ensure that every South African is getting water. And now there's a relief because of rain in KZN. People are supposed to get water. As we pump more water, they vandalize infrastructure so that that water must not reach the high-lying areas. Then we must be subjected to get their water tankers to do business. Water must not be seen as a business. And we are saying, we said to Cabinet, water must be treated as one of the essentials. And anyone who's found vandalizing the water infrastructure, that must be taken as a sabotage to the country, because water is there to ensure that there's a livelihood, there is a growing economy. If they vandalize the water pipelines that go to the hospital, those people are murderers, because should people die in a hospital because they were unable to be assisted because there's no water, who's going to take a blame? Everybody will come to government, whereas there are people who are very selfish and not think for other people.
Yeah, and this particular problem, Minister, is it only limited to KwaZulu-Natal or is it spread across the country? Are there any other hotspot areas that we need to be looking out for?
KwaZulu-Natal is top, followed by Gauteng. In the other provinces, it's not that high, but it is there in small packages. But all we were saying is that it will be better that municipality in-source this issue of water tankers, because when it is outsourced, this is where we get these barbaric tendencies.
Okay, and then to what extent does Minister believe that the South African National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency, SOC, LTD bill would be able to deal with some of these challenges once it has been ascended? It
will assist us a lot, because currently you have the player and the referee doing the same thing. So now once we come up with this agency, the agency will be able to intervene. That is why at the moment we are also launching the CMAs, which is the catchment management agencies. That is going to also reinforce this new agency to have to do their work, but working with municipalities. It is an open secret that our municipalities are very weak in terms of capacity, in terms of the engineering, the technical capacity. It is not there. We have top 68 municipalities that are unable to give any form of service when it comes to roads, infrastructure, water infrastructure, and energy. We are meeting as the IMC, COCTA, Human Settlement, Energy, Water. We're coming together to say what must be done. Yes, we know it's a constitutional responsibility of municipality to give water, but there are municipalities that are unable to do that. At what extent can we take over such a function without violating the constitution? Because whilst there is a constitution, we also have an obligation to reinforce that particular constitution. You cannot remain with a function that you are unable to perform. So come January, February, there will be some rules that we're making to those municipalities that are just helpless. They cannot provide anything.
Yeah, and with this, the National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency, once it has been established and everything is in place, would it have a role to make submissions? And I just want to hear your opinion on this, because Treasury has said that it will look into having some municipalities not release their funds or the grants to those municipalities and directly pay the water boards, because the water boards are also running dry of their money because municipalities are failing to pay that. So once you have the agency in place, is the agency then able to circumvent that and say that instead of a Treasury saying that we won't release the funds, rather have the agency being able to deal with how the funds should be released?
Yes, of course. You'll remember that the top 4 municipalities, we've already withheld their grants for December because they are unable to pay water boards. And these water boards, should they collapse, they don't only collapse for that municipality that is not paying. They will collapse for the entire province. For instance, if you talk about Central Water Board, it is servicing Free State, Northern Cape, and part of Northwest. So if one municipality in Free State, like Machabeng or Kopanong, if they are unable to pay, it will collapse for all those 3 provinces, and we cannot allow that situation to happen. We have an experience where 2 water boards have already collapsed, so we cannot allow that anymore. So as long as municipalities are not paying, whilst we are in a process of the NWIRA, so in the meantime, we'll be holding through Treasury their equitable share, so that we ensure that those water boards are put on float.
Can Minister mention those 4 municipalities?
Machabeng, Tabazimbi, Kopanong, I think Makwasi is the 4th one.
Okay then. And then just finally, Minister, on Hammanskraal, some residents were happy to see the mayor tweet that there will be water in Hammanskraal later on, just to find out that actually that first phase hasn't been completed as yet. Quite disappointed in that. But then the joint statement that almost seems to suggest that the implementation date of the availability of the water has now been pushed back once again.
Yes, you know, the value chain of water is quite complicated. You remember we're ready as early as September, October, but when you do that, you must also connect with municipality. When we flash back, municipality must also flash back and backwash. So we have done that on our side. But when we released water, the water got contaminated on the way to Babelehi water reservoir, because there are illegal connections that are connected to Hammanskraal, and those illegal connections, when the flashback was conducted by municipality, they then contaminated the clean water that we have processed. So their water pipelines were not working for a long time, so they had rust inside them. So we had to suspend spend a little bit to ensure that they clean all their water pipes. When we were ready to release water, then there was a challenge of Eskom and electricity. We have just agreed with Eskom that all the electrical pipelines that go to the reservoirs and to the water plants, they must be separate from those that are tripping on almost daily. Because without water and electricity working together, we might not be able to reach our deadline. So now Eskom has come to the party, so we think that everything is going well. It's just a pity of that Twitter that was sent by Mayor, and I told Mayor that she was out of order for that Twitter, because this is not her project. We've intervened. We've been working very hard on this, hence the joint statement, because I had to call order on that Twitter.
Okay, so when can the people of Hammanskraal get clean, drinkable water?
I might not have the date right now. We are getting daily updates. As I was coming to this interview, there was an update that said the levels of water is at 90%. But now we are busy with testing. And we have said, when we test water, we must release those results to ensure that the community knows that the results are this. They are free of any microbiological threats, and therefore they can be drinkable water. So we are busy now with those testing, and we are doing testing on every day to ensure that when we release water, there must not be aftermaths of saying then the water was not that clean. So we cannot play with water. We have to ensure that we clean the water and release the cleanest water that are safe to be and drinkable. So today and tomorrow, that's supposed to be our last testing. But should anything change, we cannot risk by releasing water.
All right, thank you so much for your time. That is the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Pemmy Majodina, on the agreement that they've reached with the Water Board in KwaZulu-Natal to release more water to eThekwini, especially during the festive season pressure, but also other water-related challenges that the country is facing. And as you just heard there, the call that she had put through to the Mayor of the city of Tshwane, Dr. Nasipi Moya, saying that she was out of order for posting on X that clean, drinkable water available in Hammanskraal. And and this is where we're at now. Now we wait and see when the people of Hammanskraal will be getting the cleaner, drinkable water. And let's quickly take an ad break. When we come back, we continue with the AM report.